I want to do a problem now where you have a graph and you are given the shaded area. So it's a normally distributed graph, and you know that part of the graph is shaded to the left or right. Usually those are the two you're going to be given. And it's asking you to find the z-score, or the data value that kind of cuts off that much area. So these problems, you'll use the same thing in StatCrunch that you used for finding shaded areas. You're going to use in StatCrunch the normal calculator. So what I would do is make sure when you open up, if you click up here, this drop down arrow, open your StatCrunch up, and make sure when you open it up, you kind of position it side by side your problem, or where you can kind of see both a problem and StatCrunch. And then once you get in StatCrunch, you want to go to where it says Stat, go to Calculators, and then open up Normal Calculator. And when you're on the normal calculator, for the most part, for any time you're trying to find a z value, or like a value that's on the bottom, you're going to be using the standard mode. So you won't have to worry about the between mode for these problems. But the standard mode, you're going to actually put in, just like before, you're going to have a mean, a standard deviation. You always have to put those two things in so that the graph knows where the center of the peak is. That's the mean. And the standard deviation is kind of how spread out the peak is around the center. So you'll always put those values in. Now, the difference here, though, is you actually won't know this x value that's like right here, or this z value. In this case, the problem we're looking at, it's actually a z and not an x. But you do know the area. And we are given an area of 0.2005 for this. They tell us the shaded area is, 2.2005. Now, what you'll do is leave the x like less than part blank, and like you won't have anything to put in there, but you'll leave it blank. So when you hit compute, it'll actually give you what that x will have to be so that works out. And if you're looking at this problem here, where we have 0.2005, an area to the left of negative 0.839 will basically give you that much area. So that's going to be our value right there. The indicated z-score, you'll just put it in negative 0.8. It wants 2 decimal places, so 84 would be our answer for that. Okay. So this is basically how you're going to work problems where you're given the area. Let's look at another one. So on this one right here, it has z. We don't know the z value, and you can see if you ever need to make this bigger to see it better, you can see we don't know the z value that cuts off the area of 0.7517. So that's your area, and it is on the right side, so we do need to change our inequality to where it's greater than. And what we're going to do here is now make right here 0.7517 as our area to the right. Okay, and you'll notice it like already blanked out our x, like the x greater than part. It already took away the number because we're going to have to compute it. And once you hit compute at the very bottom, it's going to give you your value right here. So that's our z value. So it's a little bit less than 0, a little bit to the left of 0, which will be in your negative zone. And it does look like that on the picture too, the original picture. So negative 0.68 if you do 2 decimal places. Negative 0.68. Okay. But that's basically how you do those problems right there. There is the possibility you could get like, shaded area given in the middle. But if you're ever given that, they'll have to tell you, like, it's symmetrical, or they'll have to give you more information about, how much is on outer sides. So generally it's going to boil down to just the two cases that you see here. Or you could even break the problem up into where you use left and right. Okay. But this is basically how you're going to be doing the problems in StatCrunch related to finding, a z-score, or later on in the next, homework, an X value or a data value. Okay, it's going to work exactly the same way.